Hey, it's your girl QG. Yep, that's right, Queen of the Grandinites. Okay, so let me start off by saying I am a huge Janet Jackson fan. I grew up on that woman. I love her. I love her music. I love her style. I love the dance. I love everything about Miss Jackson. And yes, I am nasty. But you know what? I had to watch the documentary, as I'm sure a lot of you have, and a lot was discussed about Janet that I didn't know. Um, that I'm happy that she finally decided to come out and speak her truth and speak, about the things of her life. And I really debated on if I should wait to do this review, until I saw both parts. But I just had to come and give my review and give my thoughts because there was a couple of things that I would love to discuss. Some things that kind of bothers me a little bit, but for the most part, things that I'm happy that um, are kind of cleared out in the air. So let me first off by saying, as you can see, I know y'all see the earring. I know y'all see it because Janet and the key earring. Guess what? I'm so much of a fan that I ain't do just one key. Got two of them suckers on there. That's how much of a fan I am. I had to do two of them things, all right? So let's get that out the way. Now, with that being said, let's get into my thoughts on the Janet Jackson documentary. Okay, so we see Janet go back to Gary and Indiana, where everything started, where the Jacksons grew up on Jackson Street, which was ironic that they lived on that street because people think that she was named after them, but it was always Jackson Street. So I think that was just the universe bringing it all together. So I thought that was pretty cool, and they showed that house, and it's just amazing to me that Joe and Catherine was able to raise 9 children in such a small house. That house was ridiculously small, and you know, I take my hat off to both of them because that had to have been crazy to have so many siblings and then y'all are all confined in this small space. I can only imagine if there was any fights or arguments or people stepping over each other. I can only imagine how that was. I could not imagine having those many people around me. I would go crazy. But they made it happen. Now, I thought it was funny that, for one thing I think is really cool is that how Janet and Randy are so close. I really think, I love that. I love the relationship. They are definitely brother and sister because they definitely, have that sibling tussling and not tussling, verbal tussling, I guess you could say. He's always coming for Janet, always coming at her throat. But she know how to get back at her brother. But I thought it was cool that he was basically giving her a history of how they grew up. Because by Janet being the baby, there's probably a lot of things that she doesn't remember or didn't know. So I thought that was cool. I thought it was pretty funny when he revealed that how they had to all sleep together in those little bunk beds in that small room. Like, it was funny that he said that Michael and Marlon both was pissing on him. I'm sorry. I thought that was hilarious because it's like, okay, both y'all or some bedwetters. Like, neither one of y'all tried to get up and go to the bathroom. Y'all was just sitting there pissing on your brother. Now, that is messed up. I wouldn't even be surprised if they was doing it on purpose. Like, Mike and Marley was probably, because they were jokesters and pranksters. So let's remember that. So they was probably like, yo, you pissing on the night. No, you pissing on the night. I can see that happening. And I think that that's freaking hilarious. But, yeah, but just having all those kids sleeping together all in that space in those bunk beds, crazy. One thing that I thought that it was really, really weird is that while Randy was talking about their history to Janet, it came off weird to me, and I'm gonna tell you why. He was talking to her as if she didn't know her own family. It came off like Janet didn't know her own family history at all. Like she had never heard these things, or if she did hear them, she heard them from outside sources. Like she didn't seem to know things from the past on her own. And it's just like, I get it, she's the baby of the family, so maybe that has something to do with it. But she's in her 50s now, so it's just like you would think that she would know the majority of the things that he was telling her, unless she just blocked that stuff out and didn't care and just was in her own world. But yeah, that was something that caught my eye. I was just like, okay, why is he's talking to her kind of like she doesn't know her own family, like she's not related. That's what I got from that. So that was a little weird to me, but that also could have been, you know, a narration point for us as the audience members, because a lot of us don't know the ins and outs of the family growing up and all that stuff. So it could have just been a narration choice for the audience. Um, I loved how she got so emotional when she saw her brothers up on that gigantic mural that they have here. I can only imagine how proud she felt, because I know if that was my family and my family was able to leave such a huge legacy, and to the point where there's just this gigantic murals and stuff of my family, I think I would break down crying too. So I thought that was really, really cool. It was a beautiful moment. And so then they go into talking about, Joe, and how he worked so hard for his family, to keep them out of trouble and to make sure that he worked enough so that, even though they were poor, it wasn't to the point where they were destitute, or, it didn't seem like they were as poor, because maybe there was just so much going on. Maybe they had so much love surrounding them. It just didn't come off as them, or they didn't realize how poor they were. Now, one thing that kind of bothers me when the subject of Joe Jackson comes up is the whole thing of, okay, he might have been abusive, he might have been a harsh disciplinarian, he might have been extremely strict, but it was just how it was back then, and people dismissed that. Now, we know that we know where he got his family. The history is there. We know that he trained his boys almost military style and was extremely strict with them, to the point where, they became the brilliant artists that we all know them to be now. Okay, so I get that. The thing that bothers me is when people say, yeah, we got beat, or he treated us this way, but that's just how it was back then. I hate that logic, because then it can become toxic, and I'll say why. Because when you dismiss something like that, when you dismiss abuse just because of a certain time period, then you have to have that logic with everything. So if it was okay for Joseph to be abusive back in the day, and you're dismissing that because that's just how it was, then I feel like you have to say that for everything. So black people, then we shouldn't keep bringing up how white people treated us in the past. If we're going to keep on bringing that logic into place, then we cannot keep saying how white people were wrong for enslaving us, how they were wrong for whipping us, how they were wrong for lynching us, how they were wrong for all the other horrible things that they've done. We cannot keep bringing that up, because then they can easily say, well, that's just how it was back then. It's a different time period. We can't expect, it was just a different time. So therefore, get over it, because that's just how it was. Do you see how problematic that can be when you have that type of dismissive attitude? And so, while I can always respect Joe for getting his family out of the hood and helping to make them into the incredible people that we know, I still don't think that it's fair to dismiss what he did as horrible and abusive. And it wasn't always from things that we've heard from different, from even Michael himself and other, sources. It wasn't always just even physical or, disciplinarian beatings. It wasn't even always just that. It was verbal. It was him telling his son, your nose is too big, or, you didn't get those features from me. You're ugly, and things like that. Where's the discipline in that? That's just someone just being abusive. You're being verbally and emotionally abusive. That has nothing to do with being strict or, discipline. That's just being cruel. So I get why the family tries to dismiss that, because at the end of the day, that is their father. And I think a lot of cognitive dissonance comes into play when it comes to Joe, because obviously they don't want people to drag him, because that's their dad. So, I mean, I get it. But, to outsiders who be like, well, they could have been on a street corner or they could have been killed. Yeah, that could have happened, but that still doesn't excuse the fact that he was abusive. So that's all I want to address as far as that goes into the topic of Joe, because that's just something that bothers me and I had to get that off my chest. All right, so back to the documentary. So they start to talk about how Janet would always follow her brothers around, which I thought was pretty cool. It seemed like she liked to be around her brothers more than her sisters. And I thought that was pretty cute. And it seemed like Janet, to me, she came at the time where the Jacksons were pretty much on their way to stardom. So, she was born in 66. They got their deal in 68 and, came out in 68 and everything. So she was on her way to California. When she came around when things were getting good. I feel like she missed the big brunt of the hustle that they were all going through at that time. So she got to experience California and things like that, and she would miss her brothers because they were on the road now, because they were such a success early on, and she was being brought up in the spotlight, I guess you could say, because of them. So then it talks about like how she got her start in Vegas because of the Jacksons variety show, and that's where she made her debut on the stage, being the sassy little sister marching around. And I thought that was really cool. The thing that I didn't know, but I'm not surprised about, but I just had never heard this, is like when they moved to California and they moved into the white neighborhood, and how they were mistreated, and there was a lot of racism going on, and how people would call them the N-words as they're trying to go to school and things like that. The teachers would mistreat them. The other kids would, touch on them and feel on them as if they're some type of freak alien, stuff like that. I had never heard about that, but I'm definitely not shocked. That sounds about right. So that's to be expected, unfortunately, in those situations, especially back then. It was cool to hear about like how they would have the different celebrity parties and things, and she got to grow up around, having all these celebrities come to her house and, experience I guess you say the good life. Janet came at the time when things were getting good for them. They had money now, and, pools and just all this beautiful stuff. So that was really cool. So Joe wanted to keep the family business going. So he saw that his daughter, in fact, had a singing voice, and he was just like, okay, we're about to capitalize off of you too. And so when he had heard her singing, which she did not even intend for him to hear this, it was all by accident. She was like, I guess, just humming and singing like you do sometimes, just mindlessly. And there was like a recording going on or something, and Michael and, was it Merlin or Randy, somebody ended up hearing it, and so did Joe, and he was just like, okay, well, guess it's time for you to start singing too. And Janet did not want to sing, amazingly so. She did not want to sing. She wanted to be an actress, and she also just wanted to go to school. She just wanted to go to college, and I guess, just singing just was not for her, so she thought. And so Joe, he basically took over, became her manager, and she ended up coming out with 2 albums that did not do very well, and which is crazy to me, because coming up, I had no clue that Janet had 3 albums prior to Rhythm Nation. When I was little, I only knew Janet from Rhythm Nation on down. I had no clue about Control, and I dang sure didn't have any I didn't have a clue about the first 2 albums, which was, I think, Janet Jackson and Dream Street. So, so Joe had complete control over that. Those flopped, and and her heart wasn't in it anyway. So, basically, during that time, Janet met, was it James DeBarge? I always get them mixed up. I'm not even gonna lie to you. They all look the same to me. The DeBarge brothers, they look the same to me. So I don't even know which one it is. I think it was James, but like I said, he looked like his brother, and I don't know which one is which. And I just thought that it was cool. You know, they grew up, I guess, together. They were friends as children, and then they, I guess, figured like, hey, let's get hitched. And they did it secretly, as Janet always tends to do. She's so secretive. I wish I was secretive like that. Like, I wish I had it to where nobody would know anything. Like, I feel like I'm secretive, but she's on a whole other level, and I respect that. But yeah, she hit 18, got married, and that relationship ended up being some bullcrap. She revealed basically that he was drug addict, and she said, unfortunately, it seemed like every man she's ever gotten with had a drug problem, and that's kind of scary if you think about it, that you keep attracting men that have drug problems. It's like, oh, what is it that's going on there? That's kind of scary. But yeah, the marriage only lasted a year, and you know, because he had been putting her through so much in regards to the drugs and her trying to stop him from taking drugs, and that they would get into fights and things like that. I guess it took a huge toll on her, and she broke down crying because, you know, something in that relationship still hurts her, because like I said, she still cries about it, and she had to stop speaking about it. So she decided she wanted to get a divorce slash annulment because it was such a short amount of time that they were together. And so, you know, I guess she feared for her life when she told him, because when she told him, she had to lock the door because I guess he was flipping out. And I do not blame her. When you're breaking up with someone, you never know how they're going to react, and it could be a very dangerous situation. So I'm glad that she did that. She got out of that situation. They did discuss the whole secret baby thing. Now, for so many years, there was always speculation that Janet has had a secret baby girl that she wasn't trying to claim, that they said that Rebe was the one actually caring for her, and you know, she wanted to put her career up front, so she, you know, just tossed the baby to the side. We've heard that for so many years. So when they addressed it, if I could be honest, I don't feel like it was answered. I don't want to say that she's lying about it. I don't want to say that, because I don't think she's necessarily lying about it. I still feel like there's some kind of something there. So I don't know if it's a situation where maybe she had an abortion. I don't know. I don't know if it's a situation where, I don't know, it's just something about the answers that was given. It came off as if there was still something there. Now she said that, you know, people had assumed that her niece, what was it, Brandy, was her daughter, because they look so much alike, and they do. They're like a spitting image of each other. So people thought that that was her daughter. Then they thought that, I think, another one of her nieces was her daughter. And then they said that they had Debbie Allen on there, who was a part of Fame when Janet was on there. And she basically was like, well, she was here all the time and we've never seen her pregnant. Janet said that she was on birth control and that made her gain weight. And so because of that, people thought she was pregnant. Now, I don't know, for some reason, and I cannot put my finger on it. Like I said, I don't know if I don't want to say she's lying, because I don't think she's quote unquote lying per se. I think that she's just leaving something out. So like I said, it could be a situation where maybe could have been an abortion. It could have been that, you know, who knows? Or she could just be telling the truth. I'm just going by how it came off to me. So I'm just going to leave that as I don't know. Tell me what y'all think about that in the comment section. Did you get the same feels that I'm getting, or do you think she's telling the truth, that she was never pregnant and never had a kid? So what we have, Janet finally just like, okay, she wants to give this music thing another try. And this time she has to do it on her own, because as we've seen with her dad's involvement, they were flops. She wanted to be able to do things on her own, because with her previous albums, she didn't get a chance to even pick out her own pictures and, you know, the covers for her albums, and, you know, the types of songs I guess that she would want to sing and things like that. She said with this time, she would have to do it the way that she saw fit. And the first way for her to gain control over her life and her career was to first get rid of her dad as her manager. I could tell that was something that was going to be hard for her, but she knew that it was something that needed to be done. So she fired Joseph as her manager, and of course he was upset about it, but you know, what could he do? She was grown at this point. So she ended up hooking up with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and they ended up doing what ended up becoming the Control album, and that's when, you know, it just broke open the doors for Janet Jackson as we know her. And, you know, Control was a bomb album. All the songs on there were hits. You know, all the singles were hits. The videos, the choreography. You know, she ended up hooking up with Paula Abdul, who, you know, did the choreography for that era. And she came out swinging with this, and it was a hit, and she did extremely well. Now, the funny thing is that I think is hilarious is that Janet was working with Paula, who a lot of us know that was the side chick to Jackie Jackson, who is Janet's brother. I think that that's hilarious because it's just like, dang, Janet out here working with her brother's sad pieces. I thought that was funny. Yeah, could I have done that? Or would I have just minded my business and then just got my career popping because, you know, this was the person to go to? I don't know. What do y'all think about that? Even though Control was doing extremely well, unfortunately, she was still kind of in her brother Michael's shadow. Because, of course, like at the time, like Michael was just a humongous star and he was going to overshadow everybody, but she was still carving a lane for herself under this huge shadow. But every time she would do interviews and things like that, they would always constantly ask her about Michael, and I can tell that that was annoying. I would have been annoyed. Who wants to be asked about somebody else all the time? That's very rude, you know. But she handled it well, and she kept going on about her business, and I respect that. So then, during this era, she ends up meeting Rene Elizondo, who we know ended up being her husband at some point. He came through. She ended up liking him a lot or whatever. I guess he brought out the best of her. I think he helped to aid in her artistic vision. And I guess just the two of them paired together was able to create a lot of magic. And that's cool, and I can respect that. Now, we've heard about how Renee is supposedly, allegedly, he was not an incredible person, but I guess that's going to be more so in part two. Well, I guess we'll probably find that stuff out. But, you know, he seemed to make her really happy during this time. And once again, secretly, Janet got hitched. He had proposed to her. And they show us a bunch of footage of things that he had recorded between both of them, which I thought was very sweet. It showed him proposing to her, and she had never been proposed to. Even with James, he didn't propose to her. They just, you know, did it. But with this, you know, you got to have a real proposal. And so I thought that was cool. It was revealed that he had too much power, though, because of her. So I guess he wasn't the nicest to people. And, you know, he was, I guess, abusing his authority because of his association with her. So then Janet gets back into the studio with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis once again to work on her fourth album, which ended up being Rhythm Nation. Rhythm Nation, that's the thing that made me know who Janet Jackson was. And the album was dope, as a lot of us know. And it was cool to see how it was coming together, how a lot of the songs sounded before they came out to be what they were. And it was showing like how Janet, a lot of people assume that Janet doesn't write her own music, that she doesn't, you know, that she just comes in and just sings what's given to her and then leaves. No, she's very much a part of creating her music. And I thought that was cool because I did not know that. And I appreciate them, you know, revealing that. You know, she is a songwriter. She is capable of writing her music. Okay, so there's a scene there where she and Jimmy get into it, and I can see why this happened because, okay, so what's going on is that Janet was basically in the booth singing some song I'd never heard of. I don't know what song this was, and honestly, I'm glad that I don't, because I wasn't liking what I was hearing. But that's besides the point. They didn't like how she was singing. I guess they felt like she wasn't giving it enough energy, and so therefore they weren't telling her exactly what they wanted. They just said it's not enough energy. So while she's singing, they start laughing. Jimmy and Terry start laughing. And so she stops singing to be like, what? Like, what are you laughing at? And they're, Jimmy's just like, nothing. Ain't nothing funny. Just, you good. That passive aggressive stuff. I would have been pissed about that too, because I'm sitting here, I'm trying to give it my all, I'm trying to do what you're asking me to, but you're sitting there laughing at me. You're not telling me why you're laughing. I would feel some type of way too. So Janet got pissed. Her and Jimmy kind of had a verbal tussle, and she left. She's like, I don't have to deal with y'all's attitude. I'm sick of this. We saw Janet with her little voice out here getting mad at somebody, with that little cute voice trying to yell at somebody. I thought that was cute. No, but seriously, I would have left too, because I'd have been pissed as well. But basically, Jimmy was just letting it be known that they never had arguments. It was more so disagreements, and he acknowledged that she was very stubborn when she found out something, that she wanted something to be some type of way that she wanted it to be, but she never had an issue with at least trying something. So whenever they would have disagreements, they might disagree, but she wouldn't have a problem with going with it just to see how it would turn out. So that little argument came from something goofy. It wasn't nothing super serious. So they show that Rhythm Nation ended up just doing incredible, 5 #1 hits or something like that. An amazing tour that she was embarking on. Her style was impeccable, the dancing, it was a bomb tour. And she got the inspiration to have such a spectacular tour from watching Michael's Bad Tour. And we saw just Janet just become the fierce performer that we know her to be. I love some Janet, as you can tell. So I thought that was really cool. And so then I think that it ended. Part 1 basically ended on the Rhythm Nation concert tour. And so now, we gotta wait for tomorrow to see what. We gotta wait for tonight, actually, to see what part 2 is going to be. And they're going to, I guess, discuss the Super Bowl and, maybe her relationships and all those things. So I can't wait to see what happens. I want to know if you've seen part 1 of the Janet Jackson documentary. Tell me what y'all thought about it. Tell me if y'all saw what they saw. Tell me if y'all were able to see the things that I was picking up on, or am I reaching? Just let me know y'all's thoughts and views on this. I appreciate y'all, and until next time, bye.